Welcome to Lancashire Fire and Rescue Services podcast series, Out of the Ashes Stories from Lancashire. In this episode, we'll be talking safety during Ramadan. This celebration is held during the 9th month of the Islamic lunar calendar. Ramadan marks a time of fasting for Muslims all over the world. People who observe Ramadan abstain from food and drink from dawn until dusk, only eating one meal before sunrise and another after sunset. This year it is approximately celebrated from the evening of 10th of March until 9th of April, with Eid being celebrated around the 11th of April. The specific dates will depend on the sunset hours. Today I'll be talking to Community Safety Advisor Faz and Farzana. So you both participate in Ramadan, and what do your celebrations look like? Do you prepare for the fasting?
I do a lot of preparation before Ramadan. However, just to make my life easier when I am working. I do work full time, and by the time I come home, I am, obviously tired because I've been working throughout the day and due to the lack of sleep. So I do a lot of preparation, especially savouries. I make a lot of samosas, pastries, rolls, spring rolls, and additional stuff, even marinating a chicken and putting it in the freezer. That is purely because it's just easier for me during Ramadan and with the tasks I have to do when I do come back from work. I like to concentrate on praying, you see, when I come back, and just taking some time out for myself before I go into the kitchen to make the main meal.
So in my household, or in any Muslim household, usually the month of Ramadan is a very busy time. It's a time of the Muslim community to actually look forward to. Personally, in my house, we look forward as we count the days towards the month of Ramadan begins, and usually we put decorations up, candles, tea-light candles, just to make sure as the month of Ramadan approaches. And yes, it is going to be a very, very busy time.
For me, when I start preparing, I know I'm preparing for Ramadan and nothing else. Even though I do my daily meals before Ramadan, it's just that additional factor of knowing that I'm actually preparing and getting things ready, and that for me that's a celebration. It is additional work because I'm having to do the preparing as well as living day-to-day life and ensuring everything's all right at home. However, it is a celebration and it's a beautiful time of the year, and we're lucky. I always feel that I'm very lucky to be a part of it.
I know that individuals fast throughout the day, and there's a special meal to break the fast, and it's iftar.
It is iftar. I think, like I said, the preparations, like I said beforehand, like making the samosas and the spring rolls and pastries and things like that, that is what we that's what we start our main meal with. Kind of, it feels rushed at the beginning because you want to open your fast and then we pray and then we have our main meal.
Farzana mentioned, in the month of Ramadan, our day starts in the evening after sunset. That's the way our month of Ramadan and our Islamic month starts. The Muslims community will be breaking their fast, like you said, as iftari, and Farzana mentioned, iftari will break the fast with dates, and now we're going towards the healthy living as well, the healthy living, and the National Health Service is doing a fantastic job in marketing healthy, breaking the fast. So yes, we will be breaking the fast either at our houses, at our local mosque, with families. It is going to be a busy time. In my household, we tend to break the fast with dates, water, and some fruit. And then after that, what happens is we break the fast. We have a congregational prayers called the sunset prayers. And then after that, as a family, we all break the fast together. It is a time of family, meeting family, loved ones, inviting friends. And for the next 29 to 30 days, we will be inviting our loved ones, our friends, our neighbors, our families, our colleagues to our houses, to our places of worship to break the fast. And then what tends to happen is in the evening, we then tend to have a congregational prayers known as the Isha Salat, the night prayers. I do thank the fire service for accommodating the Muslim staff and colleagues because our day starts in a very different way. So the 11 months, we might be starting at 8 o'clock in the morning after dropping the kids off. Yeah. But in the month of Ramadan, everything changes. Our home fire safety checks changes. We tend to work mostly sometimes in the evenings or late at night. For me personally, I then tend to work late at night targeting audiences to give out some key fire safety messages, which in other 11 months it wouldn't.
I save my annual leave, and I ensure that I've got enough that I can take during Ramadan as well. The reason why I do that is because just so my body gets used to not eating and drinking. From my experiences working during Ramadan, it's basically I do get very cold. My mind doesn't focus as it should, and you know my manager, my team leader, is aware of that situation, and she obviously has basically said, you know, you do what you need to do during Ramadan. So yeah, what Faz said, you know, the Lancashire Fire and Rescue Service have an understanding, and you know, for me to communicate that, you know, is important as well, because if I didn't communicate that, they wouldn't know, and that's something I tend to do is
as much preparation that you can help you enjoy your Ramadan celebrations to the full.
It is, and the celebrations is not just about, you know, the fasting. It's about having enough time to pray, enough time to rest, enough time to, you know, just focus your time on your family. And you know, like Faz said before, it's not just about your immediate family. That it's about the community, it's about the friends, and you know, people that you don't see on a daily basis. You know, you want to even drop some food off, or just go and say hello. And you know, Ramadan is a month where we do give a lot of charity as well, and we do it throughout the year, but we do tend to give more during Ramadan because it's one of our commandments.
Suddenly, what will happen is, say we finish work at 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock. You will then see, as is March 10th or 11th, or Ramadan begins, the sunset will be about 6 o'clock approximately, you know, and people will realize, hang on, this is so busy. There's cars, there's people going to the mosque, there's people dressed up in their thobes going to pray, and suddenly people will realize that it is the month of Ramadan. Even if you go to the supermarkets, they've got promotions on Ramadan.
I saw that when I went shopping the other day. There was quite a lot of for Ramadan cooking and Ramadan safety.
And thanks to yourself from the communications department that we've got cooking leaflets. So people realize the dangers of chip pan fire, oil fire, because there will be a lot of fried food taking place. As Farzana mentioned, that it is going to be a very, very hectic time.
It's hectic, and you know, and Faz, you know, I'm glad you picked up on that because you know, I've done some work about Ramadan safety before Ramadan. I know Faz has done absolutely fantastic work as well, and that is all preparation. It is, you know, I can sit here and say, well, this is what I do in my home, but within our work life, we're preparing the community. We're ensuring that the community is safe, and they know about the consequences of, you know, fire if they don't keep themselves safe. And that for us, you know, working in the service that we work for, it's not just about us. It's about everybody else within the community.
And sometimes what happens is, as Farzana mentioned, when we go out and deliver these programs and talk about real situation, you will notice people saying, oh yes, I can't do this, I can't do that. Yes, this is dangerous. It's this little things, you know. Because what tends to happen, just to take you on an iftari time. So this year, when the sunset, when the iftari happens, 5 o'clock, we will put our dastarkhan, our table ready. There will be dates ready. Family will be cooking. Even ourselves, we will help out. And being a carer as well, so, you know, there's other things as well. There's kids finishing from school. You've got to pick up the kids. There's praying time taking place. And basically what tends to happen, you've got all this frying stuff happening. And it's just every single day there's different dishes. And it's not that. One of the other things is, in your neighbourhood, you will as well.
Then you're dropping food off because they've dropped it off for you. So you're not only, you know, when I talked about the community,
it's very
giving them
important.
food. It is. That's what we do.
So Lucinda, yourself, like, you know, if you're living next door, you'll get loads of food from my house, and then Farzana, if she's living, she'll get.
It sounds fabulous.
It's really good. It is really good.
Loads of food, but it's there's a lot of pots and chip pans. You know, I mean, that cooker. And this is where you've got mobile phones, people, and plus we have a lot of relatives in Lancashire. We have a lot of relatives from the sub-Asian continent as well. So they're about 3-4 hours ahead of us. Then you've got so basically they want to talk to your loved ones. It's like we now have a video calling. So this internet, this social media, people are on the mobile phones while different things are happening.
You're listing a lot of fire risks and a lot of distractions. What are your tips for minimising the fire risk whilst you are doing this preparation for your wonderful food? It sounds amazing, but obviously, like you said, there's a lot going on in that kitchen. There's a lot of different people in that kitchen. There's different risks such as children running around. You've listed, obviously, phones are a big distraction nowadays. Have you got any tips for the listeners to minimise those risks whilst they're cooking?
Causes of fires is in the kitchen, where the fire starts. And in my house, I make sure the kids don't run around. So before the month of Ramadan, or even now, I tell them not to just go around in kitchen. So what I tend to do is make sure they do their homework or play with their games or something. And it is difficult sometimes. I don't like my children to actually just hog on onto their PlayStation, but I do in the month of Ramadan, I do tend to give them an extra hour.
Provide provide them with a distraction so they're not your distraction. I like that.
Small things, because what tends to happen is it is a very busy. Not only bringing cooking, but bringing the food into the main into the main room as well. Then you'll have friends coming over as well.
People are knocking on your door,
Yeah.
so you are constantly opening the door. If you don't have children in the home, because like Faz said, for my family, males usually go to the mosques before they open their fasts.
Right.
So for example, it's just me and my daughter and my little boy at home, and they open the door for me. However, if they're doing something, then I'm going to open the front door. So it's like Faz said, if you do have people knocking on your front door, ensure that you turn it off before you go, especially, for example, if you're frying samosas and you've got hot oil on, it is going to get heated up. Your samosas are going to get burnt, so they're ruined. However, obviously there can be a fire. The other thing as well is,
If you get called away from the kitchen, it's best to either turn the cooker off and turn it down. That is the most important thing, because you will get, seriously, where I live in my neighborhood, I usually get loads of food dropped off. So if the sun sets at 6 o'clock, by 5 o'clock you will get food coming to your house from everyone.
The other thing as well is, like I said before, a structure is so important, and time management, ensuring that things are done before you go into the kitchen, if you can. That's not always going to happen, but having that structure and time management is very important, and taking things slow, ensuring that, you've got smoke alarms in the property to alert you if anything does happen. But if you've got pans and pots on your cooker, making sure the handles are not sticking out, they move towards the side. So if you are rushing, which is it can easily be done, you can knock it over, especially if it's hot oil as well. It's just simple things that to be mindful of and to be aware of. Just don't leave anything near the cooker, and just keep it clean and clear at all times.
So a time of celebration. However, as a community chappie as well, I do tend to go out and meet my elderly people in my community, people who are lonely as well, because there's so many people loneliness. So it's also good to check up on the lonely elderly people as well in our, they don't have no families, they don't have no loved ones. So it's also good to actually see them as well. I remember an incident a long time ago where an elderly person, he was trying to cook some few samosas, just himself, it was frail. So we then realized that can be danger as well. Because, so we've got to take so many things into consideration. But what's happening in the last couple of years is our messages of the prevention is very, very important. It's important to have a working smoke alarm, because people don't realize that the smoke alarm is there to save you.
It should be working. There's no point having a smoke alarm and it's not working. So, just test it. I say test it every 4 weeks just to make sure that you've got a working smoke alarm. It's not about having a smoke alarm.
I know Farzana will talk about loose clothing.
Just about to say loose clothing.
But loose clothing, actually, we've been to many places where people actually burn themselves but don't contact the fire service. One of the biggest issues that we're facing, sometimes things happen because imagine you've got one pot karai, one chip pan, one small pan, one big pot, you know what I mean? And there's a lot of things going on. Sometimes the clothing is very flammable.
Faz touched on loose clothing. I mentioned before that your body does tend to get really cold during Ramadan, and that is because you're fasting and you've not had enough sleep. And like Faz said, our night begins when we open our fast at sunset. And for example, my mum, she stays awake until sunrise. So she won't sleep at all. My sister-in-law doesn't sleep at all. I try and get a couple of hours because I'm working. However, a lot of people in the communities, that's their daytime. That is their daytime. And it is busier. Like Faz said, people are around. And if you've got an open gas fire and you're cold, just make sure that you're away from it. you know, it's important that people understand that this information, because if you are wearing flammable clothing, it is going to stick to your body very quickly and it is going to burn very quickly. So just stay away from that. You know, obviously there's concerns around kitchen and the cooking safety, but this is important too.
Would you advise people to tie back their loose clothing?
I would, yes. If you are in the home, you know, and you're not going out, you know, if you've got a jubba on, just take it off. A jubba is basically, it's like a full long dress that people wear in my community, and it is very flammable. You get sleeves now which are quite loose, so the kind of wing sleeves. And you've got a headscarf on as well. So it's ensuring that if you are wearing a headscarf, you know, just put an apron on, just to make sure it's not hanging at the back. If you've got an apron on, it's tied up. If not, just tie it, knot it at the back so it's not, you know, moving around when you are walking, when you're cooking, when you're near the gas fire. And the other thing as well is the sleeves. It's important that your sleeves are rolled up if you can. If you can't, just use a hair bubble. Whatever, an elastic band, just put it on your sleeve and then roll it up. It just kind of minimises the risk. It minimises the risks of you having getting burnt or having a fire in the property. And you know, we've talked about this quite a few times. You know, me and Vaz, when we're doing our talks in the communities, is not a lot of people know that only thing you've got to do is stop, drop, and roll. That's important as well. You know, if something set fire, especially your clothing, what you tend to do is run around, you know, and that is going to make the fire, you know, it's going to increase the speed of the fire. So it's important that the people that are listening and the community are aware that if it does happen, just stop, drop and roll and call the fire service.
You mentioned before, both of you, that people aren't ringing the fire service. Do you want to explain the importance of what we want to do? We want to help people, don't we? If they need us in that time of need, the most important thing is to ring us.
So we're trying to explain to the community, saying that if there's a fire, even if it's a small fire, it's always good to contact the fire service. Why? Because we collect the information, evidence, and also making sure that our communities are safe. Sometimes people think that we don't want to waste the fire service time, you know, and that's the biggest answers that we get when we ask them, why don't you call the fire service, you know? Because last year we went to a place in Preston where an elderly lady, you know, she had a fire, she had a burnt mark on her hair, and we realized that she's already in a fire. But we asked her what happened, so she said that she had a chip pan fire, and she never rang the fire service. She never went to the doctors, but she went to the pharmacist and she bought a cream, antibiotic cream, and it was interesting to find out why she never contacted the fire service. She said that she never wanted to waste the time of the fire service, and this is why it's very, very important that even if you have a small fire, we have to call the fire service. And this is where we actually shifting, you know, to make sure that we actually educate the community. Education is very, very important. And the good thing about the fire service is, yes, the month of Ramadan will start approximately on the 10th or the 11th, but we've already launched our fire service campaign since 3 months ago, you know, making sure that the communities, elderly, the vulnerable, the youngsters, we're targeting the mosques, the madrasas, the universities, the centres, communities, everywhere. I'm working with partnerships, making sure that we give the key fire safety messages. And yes, because of more information, more education, people are calling the fire service for smoke alarms. Just a couple of weeks ago, we went to Western, to Farzana's area, where we actually worked with a lot of communities.
Of refugees, wasn't there, as well? And so most of the refugees that I've come across, they don't even know that they've got to call the number 999, for example, to call the fire service. And it's just giving that information out as well. You know, like the question you asked, why do people not report it? And it is, you know, when I spoke to a large amount of women in the eastern area last year, it was basically that they don't want to trouble anybody. They feel as if, you know, it's not a massive thing. They can control the fire themselves and just take responsibility for that. The other thing I picked up as well is shame. You know, a lot of people don't want other people to know that this is what's happened, and that it's simple things like that. But however, you know, it's important that people are, you know, the listeners that are listening are aware that we want to keep you and your family safe. That's the only thing. If you call us out, we can give you advice. If there's obviously not much going on, if you don't have a smoke alarm, we can put one in straight away.
Yeah.
The firefighters are not walking away. They are going to put a smoke alarm up, and they'll sit there and talk to you if needed. And then we, as community safety advisors, then go out and talk about evacuation plans if needed as well. So there's quite a few things that we can support the listeners with, and it's just having the understanding that we are there as support.
Yeah, our main role is we want to make the whole of Lancashire
Safe,
safe,
yeah.
and we don't want, no one is a burden.
No.
Yeah.
So, like you say, the importance is it's 999, and if you need us, we'll be there.
Yeah.
And if you need some advice, we can also provide that advice, whether it's big, small, or a smoke alarm being fitted. We are
And
aren't we?
like you said, Lucinda, I think it's important also to make sure that we, with regards to what sort of communities, we've run campaigns on Christmas safety, on Diwali safety, working with our Jewish community, working with the Hindu community, and across all communities of Lancashire, we want to make sure that everyone's safe. And the thing is, what brings the fire service ahead is the diversity, the diverse communities that we have in Lancashire, from one side of Lancashire to another side of Lancashire, the richness of diversity that we celebrate. And as the month of Ramadan comes, there will be a lot of listeners who will be listening to this, who have never been to an iftari event, who have never been to a mosque or sat down and breaking the fast. And the fire service is good in this, because basically over the years, our fire service colleagues, everyone, they sometimes go to a local mosque and break the fast. And that's when they realize that, hang on, this is what's happening. And the good thing about it is when you break the fast, you will meet a lot of people who will actually share their experiences firsthand, saying, oh yes, this is what happened. But it's not only the sunset. Another thing is, when I mention, is the night congregational prayers. We also touch on driving. Driving is a big, massive issue. And as Ramadan comes to an end, we celebrate the celebration of Eid al-Fitr. And the fire service, we talk about road safety, making sure that youngsters do drive safe, the importance of wearing a seatbelt, making sure that people adhere to speed limits, and also it's a day of celebration.
I was about to say, do you want to explain to listeners what Eid is and what it looks like? Because obviously, people that don't observe Ramadan, it's just a day of celebrations, but to your communities, it's a very important occasion. And I think understanding what the day looked like may help understand why there's road safety.
We, as Ramadan has 29 to 30 days, everything comes to an end, and when everything comes to an end, there's something to look forward to. So in our religion, in our faith, we have 30 days of fasting from sunrise till sunset. And then once the Ramadan comes to an end, we have 3 days of fasting known as the Eid al-Fitr. It's a time where families and loved ones come together. We offer an extra prayers in the morning rather than fasting. The following day, we have additional congregational prayers, and that's when our celebrations begins. It's a time of thanking God that after the month of Ramadan, and also even on these 3 days, it will be very, very busy time. Cooking, people meeting each other. And in our communities, in my household, and I'm sure in Farzana's household, you will have a lot of loved ones, families and friends coming to your house. So in my parents' house, you will have a lot of people coming, because there'll be about 50 to 100 people just coming around and in my household.
Gosh.
I'm sure Farzana's family same, but you will have people just coming along, friends, children, and children, they all want a gift. So basically what's happened now, because of the all this media, the children want presents. So it's more of a very expensive as well. Eid is very expensive.
For us, for my family, Eid, obviously, like Faz said, it's a celebration of knowing and understanding and celebrating the fast that we've completed, and that is a massive thing for the Muslim community. And Eid preparation, I won't say celebration as yet. That is because the preparation starts, for example, 10 days beforehand. For my family, we start making a lot of sweet stuff, and that's basically to give out to family and friends. So, when we talked about giving food out during Ramadan,
it continues.
It continues. So instead of giving, we give out like savoury stuff as well. However, we do a lot of baking.
Oh.
And we bake items not just for our family, my family. We bake items for family and friends as well. So that's how we start in my family. And then the day before Eid, so once it's announced that it is Eid the next day, obviously because of the moon sightings and everything, we start preparing the meal for Eid itself. So the day before. And like Faz mentioned, in my mum's house, there's over 100 people that walk through that door. However, they don't walk out in all at once. They come in, eat, and they go. So basically, the table is set throughout the day. It doesn't stop.
So it's not 100 people at 3 p.m. It's 100 people throughout the day.
Yeah, so my mum basically has a big pot that feeds 100 people. So we make a basic biryani or lamb curry or whatever. So all that's done the night before. And then after the Eid namaz, that we call it Eid prize, that happens in the morning. People start coming in, and it's earliest is 10 o'clock in the morning, and it runs throughout the day until, for example, midnight. So it doesn't stop. It does not stop.
It sounds like a very family-filled
It is.
and celebration of the past month.
Yeah. What we've done is we've completely changed the way we also advise families, because to take something into consideration, the Easter holidays, where families will come for sleepovers in the month of Ramadan. So what we've also done now is we actually do a bespoke advice escape plan to the families, because you'll have grandchildren, families, kids coming over to people's houses, just making sure that it's important that people understand the escape plan.
Yeah, how to get out if you need to get out.
To people's houses, and I've been to so many houses like Farzana where not only we give them a bespoke home fire safety check, but an escape plan, because there's so many people who expect their grandchildren to come along and making sure they'll be staying. So working together. So it's not only just an escape plan, but sometimes a lot of grandparents say that I'm looking forward to this, to working with my grandchild to have an escape plan. So I think it's also that bonding ship as well.
Make it like an activity.
Grandparents are happy or looking forward to their grandchildren, like a family activity, making sure they know the smoke alarm, the escape plan, what to do. Electricity.
People need to be aware that it's okay to have an extension lead. However, don't put an extension lead on top of an extension lead. So we call that daisy chaining.
Yeah.
And that's overloading your sockets as well. Evacuation plans, like Faz mentioned before, we have a bespoke sleepover leaflet that we give out as well when we go out and do a home fire safety check visit.
Okay.
And it is for people that are coming to stay.
It's important for everyone in the house, whether you live there or you're visiting.
Yeah.
To know how to get out, because if the worst case scenario happens, you want to get out as quickly as possible, don't you?
Yeah, so it's important that as a family who are staying in that house during the night, whether it's family and friends as well, is having an evacuation plan.
And Ramadan is going to be a very busy time, not only in Lancashire, but if you're listening across the United Kingdom or across the world, this will be very busy. It is going to be a very busy time for the Muslim community. And
I think we've discussed a lot. And I think it's been very helpful for myself to understand what Ramadan is and how it is for people in your communities. But you've also touched on a lot of safety advice. What is the biggest tip or takeaway you want the listeners today, Farzana?
If you've not had a home fire safety check, please book one. It's even if you've got a smoke alarm, we can give you advice and we can ensure that you've got the right advice to keep yourself safe in your home.
And Faz, your biggest takeaway?
Yeah, I think the biggest takeaway, if you're listening to this podcast, it's all about breaking down barriers. I think this is a fantastic opportunity where people can understand what Ramadan is all about. And yes, if you've got neighbours, if you've got friends, colleagues who are going to fast, ask them to join in the celebrations. And yes, they will be invited to the local mosque, to the houses. And it's all about breaking down the barriers. And this sort of podcast
and I think it's about sharing the knowledge and giving the listeners an understanding as well, is how to keep themselves safe.
Well, thank you very much for your time today. I've really appreciate you sharing your stories.
Thank you.
For more information about Ramadan safety, please head to our website on www.lancsfirerescue.org.uk/Ramadan. The link will be in the episode notes below. And remember, if you liked our episodes, please like and subscribe, and let's make Lancashire safer together.